All right, we're going to start with 1 minute opening statements. We're going to start with Mr. Nevares.
Good afternoon. I want to thank you guys for having me. My name is David Nevares. I am one of the 8 candidates running for District 2. What am I running on? Open form of government, meaning get me in office, the hinges to the door will come off. I promise you that. I will give you open access to me 7 days a week, like I'm doing as a veterans advocate, as one of the activists in the community. I do that as the chairman of the Veterans Affairs Advisory Committee, which I founded, and I pretty much have an open door policy. I am for positive growth, economic development, and open spaces. I have enjoyed nature, and I really, really do appreciate the Franklin Mountains, as well as what's going on in creating a national monument. I am one of the individuals that will shoulder the load, and I will represent you as my constituents. I will listen to you, and I will get it done. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you to the Progressive Democrats for putting on this forum. You know, our city is a time of crisis. It's at a crossroads. We've had stagnation for 2 years. We find ourselves in a crisis of ethics that is going on in City Hall at this very time. So it's time that we have the kind of leadership that can get us back on track, that can get us focused on the big issues. I have served on boards and commissions in this city since 2006. I know my way around City Hall. I was the one who filed the ethics complaint saying, let's hold people accountable for what they're doing. And finally, folks, for the last 4 decades of my life, I've served on any number of boards, of nonprofit boards who were there to serve and help people. So I think I bring that kind of leadership that I think can address this time of crisis, can address this time of lack of focus, can address this time when there's squabbling, and bring it to, and that's it.
My name is Dolores Garcia Baca. I graduated from Austin High School in 1976 and graduated from UTEP in 1998 with a degree in psychology and a minor in criminal justice. I am also 9 hours away from completing my alternative certification program to become a teacher. I work at Sierra and Providence Hospital as an insurance processor. And I also substituted for 5 years for the El Paso Independent School District. I thank the Progressive Democrats for inviting us here and bringing this forum and putting us all together here for District 2. I'm asking for your support for City Representative. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Gordon Thatcher. I've been living here in El Paso for about 8 years. I recently retired from the U.S. Army. I was in charge of the Biggs Dental Clinic, where I was co-chair of budgeting and planning a multi-million-dollar budget every year. That said, I think we can all agree, including my fellow candidates, that we are at a crossroads with District 2, the Northeast, and El Paso. We are $1.4 billion in debt. We all have a wish list of things that we want to do. But we have to put things in priority. And doesn't necessarily mean that we need to make drastic cuts in every department, but we do need to look into our budget and find out what our wasteful spending is. As a candidate, if elected, I will devote 100% of my time. I don't have any other job except I am a Mothers Against Drunk Driving volunteer, and I'm also a volunteer for El Paso County Voter Registration's Office. I'd love to have your vote, and hopefully a year from now we can turn things around and make a positive change for El Paso. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for hosting this forum. But first and foremost, I need everyone to give a round of applause to La Mujer Obrera and las mujeres de Café Mayapan. I have served as a board member for this organization for over a year, but more so I have volunteered for this organization ever since I came back as an AmeriCorps Vista volunteer after graduating from Harvard University with my master's in 2009. When I returned, I worked for a year as an economic development consultant for the Tiguas here. They were on the brink of bankruptcy, and we implemented a plan to fix that. They're on the road to success. And further, I've served as the Racial Justice Manager with the YWCA. I'm currently a lecturer at the university here, #1 in social mobility. And I'm one of 20 network weavers in the nation, committed to creating collaborations and coalitions of community, organizations, and our elected officials. And we've been keeping them in check for a few years now. We brought to you the wage theft ordinance that was passed on International Women's Day of this year.
Mr. Noales, what are your specific plans to deal with fiscal issues facing the city?
Physical issues facing the city. I would have to take a very detailed look at it and see where we stand. I think it's pretty hard to just throw something off the cuff without really knowing what's going on. One of the things,
Actually, the city, it's kind of well known, the city's facing a pretty tough financial situation.
I understand that the financial situation, I have dealt with budgets, very large sum as a logistician. I have created in my time in the Marine Corps ways to eliminate waste. It's one of the things I'll be looking at, how we manage things and where our money is going and why is it going this way and how long things have been running. I've streamlined programs in my time as a Marine, my time as a construction worker, my time with the water utility. It's going to take someone who can understand what's going on, and it's going to take a very good legislative aid. It's going to take a very good administrative aid to make sure we get that done. And those are two things that I'll be looking at once I get in office.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Noales. This question is for Mr. Thatcher. In your opening statement, you said that you don't have any political experience, per se. Not having this, do you think will limit you to propose ideas to improve the economic outlook for your district? And if you have those ideas, which ones are they?
You're saying
Economic development for your district.
Well, I look at economic development in a couple different ways. It's kind of like the new phone. Everybody wants the new phone, but here we go. There's a switch. Here we go. It's like a new phone. Everybody wants that brand new phone, but the city can't afford to pay it. And it's the same thing. We're looking at bond projects that were thought of, voted on, and now we look at some of them weren't so good. And a lot of people that I've talked to is, how can we get past that? Well, there's still a lot of projects on the table that we haven't finished on time, and they're over budget. And I think this leads to economic development. How can we think about bringing new ideas into the city if we can't fix our roads that are in disrepair? Thank you.
For Ms. De Astlan, what are the most pressing issues in your district, that you will tackle first?
Well, as my platform states, we need local business incentives. I see the brilliant minds in the classroom every day, and we need to invest in our youth to stay in El Paso, because most of them are planning to leave. We need fairer wages. It's not just a PR campaign to say we're for fair wages. When Tommy Gonzalez outsourced all those jobs and put them at minimum wage, where they should have been getting 10 1/4 within our city, fair wages is a promise that I intend to keep on council. As well, education programs. In our community, we need to invest in our community. Right now, they're talking about getting rid of apprenticeship courses. Apprenticeship courses are a pathway for success for youth that are not ready to commit to college. We need to invest in those programs. Furthermore, city councils across the nation, to offset the high number of Hispanic youth dropping out of high school have implemented programs to state that we believe in you. Those programs include helping them with their FAFSA. Thank you.
Mr. Tolbert. Mr. Tolbert, do you support a $15 minimum wage? And if so, what actions will you take within the capacity that you're able to as a city representative?
Sure, I support a $15 minimum wage, and I'm supporting a candidate for the President of the United States who supports a $15 minimum wage. The thing about it is, in El Paso, we can't raise that minimum wage, but let me tell you what we can do. We can make sure that our contractors that we hire are paying a living wage. We can make sure that our own workers are being paid a living wage. And we can make sure that any business that wants an incentive from the city is giving their people a living wage. That's what we can do. You bet.
Ms. Baca, do you support the implementation of municipal ID? Why or why not? Do you support the implementation of the municipal ID? Why or why not?
Implementation of municipal ID.
Yes, I do. We need to know.
Speaking of the microphone, you can move it down.
Yes, I do, because if anybody saw the television about 4 days ago, they announced that they caught 2 murderers crossing across the border. And since their IDs, they do since the system is computerized, they can trail these individuals with identification.
Ms. Yaslan, this question is for you. It's a audience question. Essentially, the audience member wants to know why you don't have any voting history in District 2 and are running in this election.
So yes, I'm apologetic for my voting history. I have voted once in El Paso since moving back and have been turned away twice at the voting polls. And right now we have some of the worst voting rights in the whole nation. Texas is #1 when we talk about access to the vote. But you know, when I realized that our vote matters, not only did I create a game, Voteria, to encourage people to vote, but looking at the numbers, less than 10% of El Pasoans vote. So I created this engagement tool so that we could talk about why their vote matters, right? Because it's not just about me as an individual going to the polls, it's about going with people power and going in numbers. And so I've been working for the past 1.5 years with this voter initiative to register people to vote and to get them to know about the issues that affect them most in our community. Thank you.
Just don't sit down. In your campaign, you say that you are for solar energy and lower electric rates. If you were in office by the time the Paso Electric proposed a hike in electric rates, what would you have done differently? Would you support the hike?
No, most definitely not. We are the Sun City for a reason. We need to invest in our solar energy and credit those that are using solar energy, those people that understand that this is important for our earth and our community. We need to help them and create incentives for them, not give them any tax hikes, or tax them extra for using solar. I joined Senator Jose Rodriguez, who recently endorsed me in his advocacy against that tax hike and his advocacy for solar. Another round of applause.
This next question is for Mr. Tolbert. Discuss your goals to balance growth, density, affordability, and community culture as it relates to planning.
Wow. What we need to do, I think it's very important, especially with the Central District, to know that as taxpayers here, we pay a lot for sprawl. Whenever there's sprawl in the city, our taxes go up because we have to pay for the new maintenance and the new infrastructure that's being spread outside of the district. And so it becomes very important for us to, here in this district, to talk about impact fees, and at the same time, when we're talking about economic development, to talk about what we can do to raise our commercial tax base and give our small businesses an opportunity to cut through the red tape so that we can start working more on raising sales revenue and lowering that property tax. So I think that would help. And I have one more comment, if I may.
Time's up.
Time's up? Okay. We'll do it next time.
So, Mr. Nevares, what would you do to attract more businesses, large businesses, to the area?
Well, one of the things that's on the table right now with the Veterans Affairs Advisory Committee is creating some sort of apprenticeship program for veterans. I think we have a lot of talent that is wasted, that is leaving Fort Bliss, and we need to tap into that. We need to make things more attractive for the persons getting out of the service and showing some of these companies what we have. You have to recognize Fort Bliss, I believe it's a 5th echelon maintenance facility, which means they can take a tank down, whatever piece of equipment, and break it down to the last cotter pin. That's the kind of talent we have here. That's the kind of talent we need to tap into, as well as our textile and our manufacturing that once was El Paso. We've lost our heartbeat, I think, in a sense, and it started when Sun Metro moved away from San Jacinto. If you looked at what was going on, that's one of the things that really hurt us. And I feel we could make drastic improvements by making or showing some of these large businesses that are interested in what talents we have in El Paso. Thank you.
The next question is for all the members, all the candidates. It's a one-word response. You don't have to get up out of your chair, just yell it out. Okay? We'll start with Ms. Yaslan. Do you support legalization of marijuana?
Yes.
Mr. Thatcher?
That's a tough one.
It's a yes or no.
Yes.
Ms. Baga?
I have a minor in criminal justice.
Yes or no, ma'am?
I abide by the law. No.
Mr. Tolbert?
Yes.
Mr. Nevares?
Yes.
It's a popular question in our circles.
That's pretty progressive, may I say. I was going to... Okay, for Ms. Yaslan, would you, if elected, would you continue to support the mayor's initiative of El Paso is open for business? And if not, why not?
So on my platform, I have that we need incentives for local business. And so as long as that chicken lays some eggs, I am in support of development that's born from the community. So local business tax incentives are first and foremost on my platform.
How do you make up the lost revenue?
The lost revenue? Oh, the fact that we are currently in debt?
No, if you provide local businesses a tax incentive, there's revenue that's lost. So in our current economic situation, how do you replace that?
Well, I think the commercial tax base is a way to depend on how to alleviate the pains of the city and within neighborhoods. So the commercial tax base is the way to alleviate the burdens that our people currently face, specifically our elders in our community. We have a lot of elders in District 2, and we need to ensure that they could afford the high cost of living in this city. and the rising cost across the nation. Thank you.
Mr. Thatcher. This is an audience question. Considering the collusion of former city council members involving the ballpark fiasco, which we are now learning will be costing taxpayers an additional $22 million, and the recent raise given to the city manager despite public opposition to the $61,000 salary increase, how do you plan to restore the public's trust in city council? Please state specific actions.
Wow, that's about the toughest question. I think it starts with integrity. You have to do things. Integrity is doing the right thing when nobody's looking. I have no ties here in El Paso, no business ties, no personal ties. I have raised zero money on my campaign. And I think, I'm not saying if you raise money, you're corrupt. That's not what I'm saying at all. But you have to start with what the people want, not what big businesses want. And I've talked to my neighbors, I've talked to seniors, I've talked to people in church, and they just want an honest government. That's all. They want an honest government with a balanced budget.
I think this question will be for all of us, so we'll go with Ms. Aslan. Can you also ask a question? How do you plan to restore the trust in the government? And then we'll go with Ms. Baca and then so on.
So community accountability benefits are one way to restore trust. So in the work that I do in community building, I'm building coalitions to create a voice on council with our elected officials, with organizations, with people power. It's all about respecting the community voice, and we've seen a lack of that on council. Again, when fighting against wage theft, that took 4 years worth of a fight. To me, that should have been done instantly, without a fight. I mean, we all know it's wrong to steal from workers. Why is it an issue? Why did we have to take it to council for so many years? Again, if you don't have a seat at the table, you're on the menu. And so when we restore trust on council, network weaving is something that I've been doing for 3 years. In network weaving, I am building coalitions with communities that have been at odds historically, organizations that might have been at odds, and elected officials that need access to community voice.
But I do want to give you another 30 seconds to answer the specific question. What are you specifically going to do to build trust amongst members of council?
So network weaving on council, I'm going to get us all on the same page from the same book, and transparency is key. Right now, the debacle we have with the Freedom of Information Act on council shouldn't have even been on the agenda. We need to be a transparent community for the community and by the community. That seat is for the community.
Ms. Vaca. And I'll repeat the question as you make your way up. How do you plan to restore the public's trust in city council with specificity?
I'm going to have the open door policy for any constituents that come to my office, because I'm very proactive in my neighborhood, and when there's a problem, I always call our representatives. Sometimes they don't answer, it feels very negative when they don't respond and they're representing you. Another thing is that this is the ethics book. We get it when we decide to run for office. We have to read it. It's very important and it's very complex. But everybody has to read it. I promise you that if you support me for city representative, that I will not put the district at risk. That it would be a team within all the other representatives, and I will bring good judgment and positiveness to the board. Thank you.
Mr. Toler.
First, we've got to get City Council to start focusing on what are the main problems in this town. The stagnation that we've had for the last couple of years, the failure to do anything about the quality of life lines. We have to focus rather than to squabble. That's first and main thing. Second of all, transparency is important for all people. There's accountability that must be had. When it comes to the Freedom of Information Act or those kind of requests, by golly, it's time to hold our city attorney accountable to see that those things get out and get done properly. And finally, all of you as citizens can hold each and every one of us accountable. And that's what's important. To restore trust, you do leadership, and you have accountability.
How do you plan to restore the public's trust in City Council? Please state specifically.
How do I plan to restore the public's trust in City Council? By being open and transparent, like my candidates have said, to stop the squabbling that goes on the dime. One of the things I don't appreciate is the wasting of time and effort as City Council members have sat on the dime and talked and get in the grass. I'm one of the individuals that have sat on boards and committees in various places other than El Paso. And I have moderated and I have worked with relationships, even with people that I've agreed to disagree with. I think we all basically have to get along. We need to get over our egos and just plain and simple get to work. That is what I bring to the table. And as well as listening to you, the voters, their constituents, call me, talk to me. I'm accessible. You can talk to Congressman O'Rourke. I'm famous for sending him emails at 3 or 4 in the morning whenever an idea pops in my head. That's the type of person I am. And that's the type of person I will be as your representative. Thank you.
Okay, this question is for Ms. Aztlan. Currently, Channel 26, and I'm going to kind of, we have a total board plug. We're doing a special report on a comparison between what El Paso, the city of El Paso, is doing regarding the well-being and the health issues. And comparing it to what Brownsville is doing. One of the issues that we currently are facing, according to our findings in this special report, is the bike lanes. There are several miles of bike lanes across the street, but the problem is that they're not connected. Brownsville, which is a smaller city than El Paso, which less miles of bike lanes, all of them are connected. You talk about, in your campaign, you talk about health issues and the rights of people. Do you think this is the right of people to have connected bike lanes? I mean, this has to do with the well-being of the population.
I definitely agree. I actually work with Mike Seifert, who's another network weaver in Brownsville. And so we have discussed many local issues that we can address and affect. And so when we look at how a city succeeds, one of the most important things is connecting a city, whether that's through bike lanes, through buses, through trolleys, through subway. We need to connect each other, and we need walkable cities. And so we talk about the health of the community. Yes, the bikes would encourage people to get out, enjoy the sun, communicate with their neighbors, and ride their bikes. That's very important. I am a huge advocate for bike lanes, first and foremost. While I was at UTEP, we were implementing a bike share program, which will be revealed soon. But more than anything, connecting communities. Not only is that a physical statement, an act, but it's an act of creating community. We need to connect community because that's how people have power. That's how people have voice. That's how people are connected.
This is another question that's going to be asked of everyone, but since we have somebody up here, we'll go ahead and start with her. The city of El Paso is about to be sued for the way the the municipal courts have gone about issuing fines and then jail time to individuals. If you were a member of council at the time, what action would you have taken as a member of council to avoid that situation specifically?
To avoid a lawsuit? Well, given that I worked at the Paso del Norte Civil Rights Project for about a year, that is the organization that is filing the lawsuit, I know their intent, and I know that they would have proceeded in trying to create a resolution before filing. So I would have been about creating a resolution. And we are, as a community, we aren't quotas as far as trying to get the dime off of everyone's pocket. We are not a quota, we are people. And we need to recognize that we cannot be jailed unjustly or overtly at high numbers.
Just for clarification, how does a resolution either prevent the problem that happened or prevent the lawsuit? I'm not following.
Any community can create a community benefits agreement, and that's a sort of a side issue. But I know that the way the Civil Rights Office functions is it goes to those that they were accusing, and they try and create a resolution, resolve the issue.
My question was, as a member of council, what action would you have taken?
Well, after being sued, I mean, I would resolve the issue.
This is a little tough for me. I don't have a lot of sympathy for people that don't pay their fines. If you don't want to pay, if you don't want to get in the spot to pay a fine, you can't afford it, then don't do it. But I think there are alternatives, and I think what we should have done was more volunteer work here out in the streets, clean the streets. There's a volunteer position for everybody.
If I can interrupt, because I want to give you an opportunity to answer that question fairly to yourself. That's not the issue. It's not about whether or not they could pay. The municipal court judges weren't holding indigency hearings, so it's a matter of process that wasn't being followed. That's why the city of El Paso got sued. So it's not a matter of they weren't paying their fines, it's that the courts weren't following the correct procedure as it relates to the law.
Well, if that's the court issue, again, I'm not an expert on the court issue, the Constitution and the bylaws. So, it might sound a little ignorant for me to say I don't have much to talk about this issue, but I don't. I just think that that's a higher up. Even though the city is getting sued, I think we probably could have done proactive steps instead of reactive steps on the issue.
Ms. Baca.
I'm not a lawyer and I'm not a judge. And first of all, if I were going to take interest in the resolution, I would read it first. I would see what the outcome is in both sides, and I would decide under the literature what process I would take. So therefore, I'm not going to say anything else. Thank you.
Let me tell you something you might not know. City Council appoints the associate judges who make that decision about whether somebody is going to go to jail rather than if they can't pay a fee. So the first place it starts is that City Council needs to start appointing people to those positions that care about people and are sensitive to people and are sensitive to the needs. That's the first thing that has to happen. And the second thing is that the city needs to continue to monitor the courts. They can do that with the help of Paso del Norte Civil Rights Project. And finally, the city needs to come up with some good programs that can be community service for those who have tickets but can't pay for them. Simple as that. Boom, boom, boom.
were on city council at the time, prior to the issues that council was being now sued for, the city is being sued for, meaning all of us, what specific actions would you have taken to avoid that situation?
Again, similar to what Mr. Tolbert said, I'll be looking for something with our civil rights groups that we have here in El Paso, as well as creating some sort of step program, or sliding scale or otherwise, or simply put probation, work it off. We have people that lose wages when you lock them up. And the way the economy is, the way we are in El Paso, people are just living paycheck to paycheck. When you do something, create programs and systems, checks and balances to make sure everybody in the district is productive.
This is another one of those yes or no questions, so we'll start with Mr. Nevadas. Again, you guys don't have to come up here, you can answer from your seat. But again, this is a question that goes to the values of our organization, which is why it's being asked. It's not necessarily timely, but it goes to the values of our organization. Do you support continuing the provision of domestic partner benefits at the city?
Yes.
Mr. Nevadas.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to go to a 1-minute closing. We'll go in the reverse order that we started with, so we'll start with Ms. Diaz-Lana.
Well, thank you everyone for your time and for your attention. I want to say that thank you to the steel workers who have endorsed me, the Central Labor Council who has endorsed me, the local firefighters who have also endorsed me, the American Federation of State and Municipal Employees who have endorsed me, the Nurses Union who has endorsed me, the Central Labor Council that has endorsed me, Senator Jose Rodriguez who has endorsed me, Carmen Rodriguez has endorsed me, Diana Washington Valdez has endorsed me, Enrique Moreno has endorsed me, and the El Paso Times recently endorsed me in the Sunday paper. Thank you.
Oh, that's a lot of endorsements. That's great, This is the way I look at it. I think we're all qualified. We need a change. And my main thing is I think we all want to make a positive change for El Paso. In District 2, the Northeast, however you want to divide it up. But I've given it a lot of thought. And whoever is elected, I hope they will have my prayer that they'll do a good job for our city. And if I see positive change, I will support them next year if they want to run again. But we do need change. I don't have any endorsements. I don't take any campaign contributions. But my neighborhood wants me to run. They want me to win. They want me to make a positive change. Thank you.
This isn't the first time that I have run for a position, an elected position. And throughout my careers, I have never accepted contributions from anyone. It always has been a family unified campaign. So I'm asking everybody to please support me because I am an honest person. I have integrity, good family values from my parents. I came from Segundo Barrio. I know how hard it is to live on a low income, and I promise that I will do as much as I can for District 2. Thank you very much.
I was born and raised in District 2. Went to Austin High School. I moved back here in 2006, and I've been active ever since. I've helped start a neighborhood association. I started Singing Sunday. I have directed Celebration of Our Mountain, which has brought health to people with diabetes and obesity, since 2009. I have been on boards and commissions. I know what it is to lead, and I know what the city's all about. But let me tell you something else that's interesting, something else that's probably more important. If you're going to represent a district, you have to really know that district well and know it by heart. And I'm going to tell you that living 1 year in the district doesn't count. And I'm also going to tell you that in spite of voteria, here's a person that has never in the county voted in a municipal election or a school board election. If you want integrity, by golly, you got to do the time and you got to have the experience. Thank you.